Hey guys, Games here again. This is me. What if Invincible was a Green Lantern? Now, if you guys don't know what a Green Lantern is, I'm kind of surprised. But also, if you're a Ryan Reynolds fan, you also haven't seen one of his bigger movies, even though it's a trash one. Or at least power-wise, it's trash in my opinion. But yeah. Now, in Green Lantern's basically someone with goodwill, like a heroic spirit, basically. There are other not lanterns, but there are other ring colors. There's a Green Lantern wears a green ring. There are well, I guess they are lanterns. Yellow lantern, red lanterns, golden lanterns, purple lanterns, black lanterns, orange lanterns, so on and so forth. Green ones are heroic spirits, and I think Mark either embodies a Green Lantern, or in my opinion, I phrase this. Mostly in the series, he embodies a Green Lantern. If he isn't a Green Lantern, then I consider him either a Yellow Lantern, possibly. Yellow Lantern, the only sole ability that when he gets his strongest is when he's pissed off. So yeah. Now, Green Lantern's ability is basically just Adam Eve without changing the atomic structure of anything. So yeah. Now, in this one, Mark would grow up rather normal until he was about 10 years old. Now, on this day, Mark was playing at some after-school program he was in. While he was there, he was kind of just there so his mom could work and his dad could do more hero stuff throughout the day. And, well, while Mark was walking home, he had heard a loud booming noise, even a giant dust cloud. He saw one. Now, Mark ends up walking over because, well, he's walking home now, after the activity's over. As Mark walked over, in the middle of it, he had seen a man curled up in the fetal position, coughing his life away. Mark looked at him, and the man had a black and green suit that read, "Coalition of Planets," in big, bold green letters. Mark had saw it and was like, what? The man looked at Mark, a bit anxious in his eyes, Mark could tell. As he aimed the ring at Mark assumed he was going to die, but the man said, "Ring is... how pure is this boy?" The ring would chime and say, "He matches with your pure of heart scale, since he's a child, but also there's a deep down heroic spirit." The man would have a very weak smile, and he made the ring go into Mark's hand. Mark was confused, so the man would crawl over, grabbing Mark by the arm, and say, "Say this oath, boy. In the brightest day and the blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware of my power, Green Lantern's light. Yell it with your heart." Mark would flinch and yell it, as the ring then made him a suit resembling his usual one, just smaller, and there's no yellow, it's green. I would have painted it green. I would have taken out the yellow and redrawn it green, but also I couldn't find a good PNG of an animated Mark. So it was a comic Mark, and it's a lot harder to replicate a comic accurate drawing with art, especially if I'm doing it on my phone in a short amount of time. But yeah. Now, Mark flew off after the man had actually officially died, but the ring would more or less put a green glow over the man's body against Mark's will and basically disintegrate him. And Mark ends up flying off a bit anxious, and, well, the government assumes that's probably just a rogue crater that was destroyed on impact. Which, well, they can kind of believe, considering that the ring supposedly traveled really far away. The crater would travel really far away, or far away, and hit at a rapid impact. But not no one, just mainly Mark and the ring, don't know how that man died, especially the ring mentioning that he was a really strong alien without the ring's power. Now, Mark's left spent all day learning to mainly maintain his air control. Like he'd tilt, wobble, and almost fall. He basically just told his mom over a phone call saying, "Hey mom, I'm gonna go to so and so's house. They're in my club." And to be frank, his mom's not worried. His dad's Omni-Man. If they were worried about Mark, he'd find him. So yeah. Mark spent all day about 5 p.m. when his mom called him, saying, "Do you need me to come pick you up? Your dad, maybe?" Mark says, "Oh, no, they're not too far. I'll walk." And his mom trusts him. Because then again, if they're worried, Omni-Man. So, yeah. But after Mark we got in decent control over his air support, since he didn't need to use his equilibrium, he just needed to learn how to like maintain his status in the his control in the air. Like the ring is guiding him. The ring speaks. So yeah. But the ring was scanning Mark's body on his walk home and say, "You are a Viltrumite and a human hybrid. Is that correct?" Mark was confused, and Mark was a bit confused by the term Viltrumite, but he shrugged. "I think I'm a Viltrumite. I know my dad's an alien. I just didn't know the name of it, but I guess so." The ring then broke down the Viltrumite power set, but not who they were. He's like, "You probably don't know your abilities. This is what happens." And the ring actually asked Mark, would like to know the Viltrumite history. Because Viltrumites are not pure of heart. They're the complete opposite. But Mark's wearing the ring as Viltrumite, so he assumes Mark does not know. The ring's a hyper-intelligent being, basically. And Mark would actually decline the knowledge of Viltrumite history, saying, "Oh, my dad wanted to tell me first. If he doesn't tell me, then I'll ask you." And the ring understood that. Ring's home powered down. Well, there's not powered down, it just stopped glowing. But yeah. Mark went home and, well, for some reason, he didn't want to tell his parents what the ring was. But I'll tell you, because you're not his parents. But also, saving this for later really won't matter, considering that I'm telling you this is the only Green Lantern in existence. Mark's only Green Lantern. So, yeah. By the way, this ring is derived from the Daxamites, by the way, but only picture I could find of the Daxamites is Sodam Yat, and there was really nothing about him that was a decent PNG that I wouldn't take 10 minutes, 15 minutes editing, and I want to get this one part out because it's been a week and I should upload within a week at least. So, yeah, or I think it's been a week, like 6 days, minimum in my opinion, or from what I know, actually, I can just check. It's been 8 days if you don't count that Bart Simpson AI I posted as a short. Did you just like that? I have a lot of AI stuff I got on Discord. I don't have TikTok, but I did for like a week, and that was like a few months ago. But yeah. But yeah, the ring. It came from a lost species that had one final member that somehow died and passed it on to Mark. That species is mainly lost. The fact that, like most planets, the Viltrumites tried to conquer them. This planet was actually advanced. The Viltrumites weren't like, "Oh yeah, we want to help you advance." No, we want your technology. That was it. They think this planet had the key to save them, and the planet would not because the Viltrumites are evil. So, yeah. But, yeah. So this planet had basically, made the Green Lantern Corps, but a few rogue members split off, weakening their ability to create more and more rings. More of these evil members happen to be the main creators. Only good creator left passed it on through his bloodline until it reached the one who had died in Mark's arms. Not in his arms, but, well, holding on to Mark's not one arm, but holding on to one of Mark's arms. But, yeah. But now, yeah. Mark is the first wielder in the Milky Way galaxy. This planet that the ring is from is even across, like, beyond the Andromeda, basically. It's like in the furthest ends of the universe. The fact that this planet was so advanced that they did not really rely on anyone else but themselves since they began. So, yeah. No. Mark would train after school constantly instead of going to the club telling his mom, "Oh yeah, I found a new club. You don't really need to pay. It's more like an outdoors club." And, well, his mom didn't mind that. So yeah. And he trained for about 2 years, till he got like an average grasp over everything because the ring broke down how to train. Kind of like, what's a good reference? So Superman and Lois. Superman has basically his father in a crystal. His father taught him how to train. This time, Mark has the actual power source to train, not someone who likely did not use their own powers, but they know of them. And plus the actual object that gives him the powers is teaching him how to use it. So yeah. And due to the ring basically being spiritually connected to the user and also permanently attached to its physical body unless the user willingly takes it off. But other than that, the ring is just on Mark at all times. Yeah, the ring began basically unlocking Mark's latent Viltrumite powers. So yeah. The ring also would cross Mark's DNA with the original bearers of the DNA, the Daxamite. Making Mark 1/3 Daxamite, 0.5 thirds human, and 1.5 thirds Viltrumite. So yeah, Mark is more Viltrumite than anything else, but that's because Viltrumites are so dominant physiology-wise or DNA-wise. But the Dax are so overpowered that they both kind of fought over the human DNA, pushing it back to a very bare minimum. So, yeah. Now, Daxamites are basically Kryptonians, but not as Kryptonian. So yeah, like they have the similar abilities, but not everything's the exact same. At least probably not on the same high level, I'd say. But yeah. Yeah, they're very similar to Kryptonians. Very, very similar. So, yeah. But also kind of basing this off Sodam Yacht. I know Superman did become a Green Lantern, unless that's like the last whatever it was called. I could not find a Wikipedia page for it. I know there's one. I was on it one time, but I also clear my history like once a month, so I cannot find it. If you guys can find that Wikipedia page, send me a link to it, because I went Green Lantern Superman is all just questions. I can't find an actual link for it. If you guys can find one, please send it to me, or at least just comment the link, something. So yeah, Daxamites closest I got. Well, yeah, this allows Mark to absorb sunlight. Allows him to absorb sunlight the same way Kryptonian does. He has a hearing range of the entire city at age 12. Not the entire universe, because he's just now unlocking the super hearing. The ability to see on a microscopic level, X-ray vision, natural flight, not the ears, enhanced thought process, which allows him slightly higher intelligence. And also the ring helps him study a lot. So yeah. This does make him similar to Adam Eve in some ways, since he thinks so fast and so often he can kind of see everything like it's actually in front of him and not a thought. So, yeah. But, yeah. Now, as Mark is out training, he's able to hear a girl arguing with two men. At this point, Mark's parents are asleep, and Mark's kind of outside, kind of just making different constructs with his ring. So yeah, pause. So yeah, Mark kind of just makes constructs on like the roof, and that's about it. He assumes kind of like a weird light show. That's about it. And Mark also does train in the forest just to cause a bit of destruction. So yeah. Now Mark can hear it because it's actually a bit beyond the city now, kind of like very brief nearby states. So yeah. But Mark flies over, and when the girl turns the man's mask to steel, like the fabric turns to steel, they almost fell to the ground, like it was heavy. Mark appeared below them, catching their heads, and just lowering them down gently. Now, the girl looked at him, and he kind of just smiled, saying, "Hey, sorry to get in the way of your crime bust, but they kind of would have hurt their head pretty badly if they hit the ground full force." The girl looked at him and said, "Who are you? You're a hero I've seen on TV." Mark Mark would use the ring to make a green disc that he lands on, and says, "Oh, I'm not really a hero. I'm kind of just, well, I have powers. I don't want to be a hero just yet." And he tells her about his powers, and she tells him about hers, because they seem to be very similar. Only thing is that hers can shift atomic structure. His can't. But he did mention he's also an alien, which is kind of unique to her. So, yeah. But what else? Oh yeah. And Eve did call his ring stupid, but also him being an alien kind of gave him cool points to her. Actually, her name's Eve. It's Adam Eve by a long shot. But yeah. But Eve would laugh as she would grab a dumpster lid, making it in the same material as the ring, since the ring got her permission to know its atomical structure. Which was weird to her, since she didn't know what it was, but also again, Mark's an alien, so yeah. She touched it to learn what it was. All she did is kind of just put her power into it. She was kind of shocked how strong it was, but due to her not being fully trained, it's overpowered her pretty easily, but she was able to learn the structure of it. She made the dumpster lid in the same material as the ring, and kind of put it around a gauntlet, telling Mark that, the ring's now always going to be attached to his wrist, and that the ring might be closed, might be, not how to phrase this. The ring has a high chance of getting lost, so he should have it in a gauntlet at least, like this, so it's incapable of falling out, because it's permanently attached to Mark's arm if he wills it. So, yeah. So Mark ends up thanking Eve as he flies off, telling her his name is Mark, by the way, Mark Grayson. And she says her name is Samantha Eve Wilkins. So, yeah. What else? Yeah. Now, as they talk, a man named Dr. Brandyworth will stop Mark from flying off, asking him to speak with him, but also Eve. So yeah. With this, they talk, and Eve wants to be a hero. Brandyworth doesn't really agree to it because she could be caught, but Mark actually says, pipes up saying, he's a superhero, he can hear the entire city. He's willing to be her guardian and be her guardian from a distance. Like, he can, if she's in trouble and he hears her, he'll stop anything to go help her. And, well, Brandyworth agrees, telling Mark, just be very careful with her. Mark says, yeah, I mean, he's a guardian. He's not a bodyguard. He won't get involved at all times. He'll just watch to make sure she's okay. And Brandyworth is okay with that, too. As long as he promises to step in if it gets too dangerous, but yeah. Now, months pass. Mark decides the Gauntlet as a very unique kind of telescope. And that's because he did get into science recently to make sure that Eve wasn't always ahead of him science-wise. And the ring also taught him science because the ring came from a very advanced scientific civilization. Or mainly engineering, but still science. So yeah. Now Mark kept an ear out for Eve over these last few months. Not really getting involved, but still knowing about it. But yeah. Yeah. Now Mark would go on and will find Eve fighting her 4 siblings. Mark is asking to use the bathroom in class. The teacher says okay, because Mark is also a really good student. Alright. But, where was I? Oh, yeah. So, Mark was able to grab the microscope as he left the room, using his high time. It's called high time because it's derived from Runner's High, mainly because I kind of reread Lookism and thought it was cool. Lookism is a good series, by the way. Spoiler for those who do read it, if you're not aware where I'm at right now. Vasco uses a thing called Runner's High. Well, he can't speak English, so he doesn't know the term Runner's High. He calls it just hero mode. But Runner's High is kind of a runner finds their peak when they run. This is Mark's pinnacle of speed. He just can't maintain it for long without causing a lot of destruction. But he would go into his backpack, grabbing the microscope, closing it gently, then going back out of the room, accidentally breaking the door handle on his way out. But still. Then when it goes on, a giant shockwave is heard. Classroom isn't harmed. They're just kind of shocked by it. They think it was just like a random boom nearby. But yeah. Mark ends up flying away, speaking the oath, as I refuse to say that again, because it's hard to memorize. But with this, well, for me it's hard to memorize, but Mark flies off, activating the suit, and he flew to Eve, where her first brother was about to smash her head in with, well, just a blob of, I guess a ball of concrete. As soon as it's about to hit Eve, Mark appeared in front of her, taking the smash to his skull, as the rock just shatters to pieces. So yeah. And with the rock in pieces, yeah. Now as the rock is in pieces, Mark would decide to more or less, tell Eve he's gonna help her now, because this seems to be a bit too dangerous for her alone. So yeah. Now what else? Oh yeah. So Mark ends up asking Eve if she wants help. Then eventually he says that he's not going to he's not going to take an antic no, so he's going to do it himself. Now with this, Mark and Eve began fighting. Not Mark and Eve fighting each other, but they're fighting her siblings. So yeah. And Mark pretty easily able to push all of them around and then entrap them. And Eve begins helping him until a dart is shot and hits Eve right in the neck. Mark had heard it, but he didn't know where it was coming from. As the dart tried to hit him too. But due to the Green Lantern's glow, he's basically bulletproof. Well, he didn't need to be, he just is even more. So as soon as the dart shatters on impact hitting him, the dart would hit Eve, as Mark's like, that's where hers came from. Immediately, Mark would decide to more or less, follow the guy trying to take Eve. But then Mark gets barraged from gunfire from the two people firing at him, but they're from opposing sides. So Mark has to just bounce around before using a gigantic barrier to defend all the cars around him. With this, even her siblings are taken away, and Mark feels pretty bad, but, well, he's gonna keep an ear out. So yeah. No, Eve's taken away as Mark guards passengers, and as soon as the gunfire stops, Brandyworth would appear running with a gun in his hand. He tells Mark that he found one of the gunmen and knocked him out. That's why the gunfire partially stopped. And Mark kind of asks him, like, "Oh, how'd you knock him out?" And Brandyworth says, "This is cinder block to the head will take out most people." This makes Mark kind of laugh, but him and Brandyworth make a move on the base after Brandyworth confirms where Mark thinks he's hearing it from. So yeah, Brandyworth assumes it's the old lab. So yeah. Now, when Mark and Brandyworth arrive to the correct location, Mark basically just probably just pushed the wall down. And as soon as the head of the project would aim his gun at Mark, well, immediately Brandyworth shoots him right in the hand, and then basically just fires 3 more bullets, one to both of his legs, well, one to one leg, one to the other, one to the other arm. So yeah. Now, yeah. Now Mark ends up making a chain smacking around everyone in the room before binding them together, except Eve. Her siblings were already back in their pods. So yeah. Now Eve is saved, and well, Brandyworth shows her what happened to her mother. Now before Eve freaks out, Mark tells her that he knows a few things in the ring to probably help him not free her, but make her more cognitive, or improve her cognitive functions. And the ring does by scanning the technology and then telling Mark, all you have to do is really kind of think hard, and you'll probably put together what everything is. And Mark does so as he finds the most logical way to do it. So yeah. So after Mark is able to actually improve her cognitive function to speak properly, Mark tells us all he can do now because of how, not old, but just how limited the technology is here. So yeah, Brandyworth thinks that's enough and simply tells the man that if he leaves, he won't snitch. And the man agrees. So that leaves Brandyworth in peace, and Eve kind of has her own base now. Same for Mark. Brandyworth is able to just stay there, and due to it being funded by the government, and the government not wanting to know they lost it, they're like, "Oh yeah, we know about Eve and her siblings. They're all fine. We have Eve back in custody, but we're letting her go back and forth to school at least." And the government buys it somehow for the sake of plot. Yeah. Now, time passes, and Mark decided to work on crimes internationally, far away from his dad, so he doesn't get discovered. Omni-Man works internationally too, it's just he doesn't have the same super hearing as Mark, so Mark easily avoids him and lets Omni-Man handle crimes. But Omni-Man has heard rumors of a glowing hero. Everyone has, they just don't know who he is. Turning that also Mark kind of just makes sure to have his face covered, not his hair. So, yeah. But Omni-Man has a sneaking suspicion it's Mark, considering that Mark has obviously awakened super strength. Mark's a lot stronger than average. Like, his mom's like, "Hey Mark, can you help me move the couch so I can clean under it?" Mark will actually just begin to struggle and lift the couch, which he kind of thinks is a lot easier than kicking it across the room. So, yeah. He begins to struggle, even like faking sweat, which is just him spitting up his face. But eventually his dad confronts him. Mark agrees that he does have super strength and durability, but not speed and all that. So, yeah. So Omni-Man thinks it's a slow process to awakening all of it. But, yeah. And Mark and Eve even hang out at the base, more or less just playing video games. But not dating, saying that she got with Rex before Mark and her were even that close. It was more or less just Brandyworth giving Mark a bit of advice and helping him with some technology. But, yeah. Now, by the time Mark is 17, I'll go over some physical statistics. Mark's about 6'3" to match Superman. So he's about 192 centimeters, I think. And then 190 pounds, that's like 85 or 86 kilograms. 190 pounds or 85 or 86 kilograms. I'm pretty sure it's 86. But yeah. He does train Omni-Man for basic hand-to-hand combat skill and all that, but also Omni-Man does teach him how to use weapons occasionally. I think Viltrumite's trained with weapons a lot, so he'll teach Mark. So, yeah. And Mark's use of technology by now is probably similar to Robot or the Mahler twins. So, yeah, because the ring also does teach Mark some engineering. He's pretty good at it. So, yeah. Now, yeah. Now, when Mark is in school and he meets that one bully, I think his name's Todd or something, Todd would try to hit Mark in the chest. And that's because Mark ends up, like, stopping him from bullying someone. And Tom's like, "Oh, so you think you're tough, Grayson, right?" And he basically just hits Mark in the chest, or tries to. Mark just dodges and kicks out one of his legs, making him just fall back. And the moment that he hit the ground, he kind of just coughs insanely hard. So yeah. Now Todd just coughs because, well, one, he hit the ground really fast. He doesn't know how Mark did that quickly, but yeah. But instead of just explaining it, Mark just walked away with William and said, "Nice try, dickface." And that made William laugh, but make fun of his insult. I don't think Mark is one to insult people, and especially not good ones. It just sounds funny. So yeah. Now on Mark's quote-unquote walk home, him and Eve talk. And Eve would begin the conversation once he gets into powers. So, yeah. Alright, yeah. Now, Eve begins the conversation once he gets into powers and says, "Come on, Mark, even my parents assume you have powers now because how often we hang out." And she says, "Well, I want to just tell you that you have the full package, not just strength and durability. You even told me he suspects you have speed, too." This just makes Mark sigh and get a bit more stressed out. And Brandy Worth even chimes in saying, "I quite agree, Mark." Mark just says, "Nope, that's a superpower conversation. You're not involved. Finish working on the quadruplets or something." So yeah. Mark just says he's worried that their work together will make him curious about the ring, and he already doesn't trust how dodgy his dad has been about telling him Viltrumite history. Point where he thinks he might have to ask the ring because he thinks the ring knows secrets about Viltrumites that his dad won't admit. And Eve said, "Tell him it's a gift from me." And I mean, with how smart and creative you are, he'd probably buy it, buy that you helped make it or something. Mark decided as he did thank her and told his parents about his powers, but not the ring. So yeah. Mark told his dad that Eve may have made him a suit, and the gauntlet is just more or less it's kind of just like a reflection about the powers, but not telling him about the ring inside the gauntlet. So yeah. Now, Mark already had a suit, because Eve and all that. Well, while he was sleeping, he didn't wake up in time to hear the Guardians die. So, yeah. Plus, Mark also usually sleeps with earmuffs, so he can have a good night's sleep, which is Mom recommended, so, yeah. Now, when Mark's mom tells him about his dad, Mark arrives on the scene and basically began investigating everyone's bodies. But he mainly examined their suits instead of how they died. And Mark would keep what he learned to himself. But I'm kind of the narrator and storyteller. But yeah. Now Mark basically would look at the blood on his dad's hands or his gloves and the handprints of Red Rush and how badly broken they were. Now Mark does mention that Red Rush's hands seemed like they ran into something really hard. Well, not mention it, but kind of think of it. And then he basically would examine his dad's chest and say it looks like he was hit by something really hard over and over again. So, yeah. Alright. But yeah. He basically mentions, he thinks that Red Rush and his dad might have been fighting. Before he thinks that Red Rush might have killed his dad because he's like, "My dad can't do any wrong." Once the government leaves, Mark basically everyone has the ring scan the bodies. And immediately the ring mentions that it seems like the Guardians were fighting each other. We're fighting one person, and his dad seemed like he was being ganged up on. Like his dad was hit by a lot of people, while the Guardians were fighting a lot of people, it seems like, or fighting someone. But the ring would chime in, saying if that's the case, there's no injuries. Omni-Man was fighting the Guardians of the Globe. And Mark kind of puts together that his dad being so dodgy, but also him killing the Guardians, he's beginning to trust his dad less and less by the week. So, yeah. Now what else? Oh yeah. Now, Mark decided to make his debut as an official hero, and that Omni-Man had trained him in private. What he means by debut is they basically said that Omni-Man and the Guardians are off somewhere in space doing a mission. In the meantime, he's coming out as a hero to make sure that the villains don't get too suspicious, and then he says he has the same power set as Omni-Man, but also a bit of a new power as well. He says they can see in battle, which makes everyone very happy. Considering that more villains feared Omni-Man than, well, the Guardians of the Globe, considering how scary Omni-Man seemed to be. He seems so calm, taking down everyone. So this made him a bit suspicious. Not suspicious. I don't know how to phrase it, but it doesn't matter. So yeah. But yeah, Mark does say he's an international hero and he's super hearings, but he's focused his hearing mainly on the city, but still go around the globe to help everyone. So, yeah. Now, with this, yeah. Mark would be trying to make his own Fortress of Solitude, mainly to train the ring, but also to kind of not, like, note down anything he finds significant to keep away from the government, because they're not really in the Arctic as deep as he is. So, yeah. But, yeah. Now, as Mark's making this base, I'll get back to this. Sorry for, like, pausing so much. It's late, and I'm kind of going back and forth with preparing for dinner, but also, just other stuff. So, yeah. But as Mark's building this base, mainly for taking notes and all that kind of stuff, it goes on to Eve, or he hears a scream that he knows is Eve because just the frequency of it. So yeah. So as Mark ends up basically just not teleporting, but being very fast, where it seems like teleportation, he arrived next to Eve. And everyone looked at Eve wondering why she screamed, because she wasn't in trouble, but they see Mark right next to her, and they remember like, oh yeah, this guy can have super hearing from all across the planet. And Eve basically tells Mark, she doesn't know how much help they need right now, but she has a plan. And with this, Mark basically ends up, as Mark ends up basically asking about Eve about the plan, they talk, and Eve would basically pull out, or make a giant barrier of, pink energy. And Mark ended up doing the same thing, but for green. Or with green energy, I'd say. So yeah, as Mark has the barrier up, even his barrier fuse, and they begin pushing it back forward until it pushes back everyone, basically. So, how to phrase this? Mark and Eve have their barriers fused, and they push back the Flaxons. The Flaxons are being pushed back. Eve would yell at Rex, saying, "Throw in your strongest bombs, but try to withhold the detonation." And he does just that. So with this, Rex can just smirks and yells, it's like, "Oh, I got it, babe," and they do just that. Now, as Eve and Mark begin pushing the barrier back with now the bombs inside, Duplicate began pushing back the barrier with like it's a solid object, and a lot of people are really strong. A group of people would be really strong, so Duplicate begins pushing it back. And Robot kind of took the opportunity to just nail stragglers. If anyone got near Mark, they basically just die punching him, or if they ran at him, they just die trying to tackle him. So yeah. So yeah. But the Flaxons are basically pushed back back to their portal. They try to basically push back, but immediately, as soon as they try to push back even harder, Eve just yells, "Rex, now!" And he let his bombs off as Eve and Mark just disperse the barriers. The Flaxon army that's still left is just killed immediately. With this, Mark ends up basically just putting the barrier back up to hold the portal open, and he says that how he ages, basically just how to phrase it, or how Mark says it. "I age slower than them, and I can tell that they age fast. Let me check them out." And Eve agrees. Mark immediately just disperses the barrier, then appears right in the middle of the Flaxon base. And as soon as the Flaxon try to attack him, Mark's pretty easily able to dodge and throw them around like it's nothing, and from what he hears, he's basically able to ask the ring to translate a few of the things into his head. And the ring can do so. The ring's very advanced, because of Mark and Eve now, but also Brandyworth by more of a margin. The ring kind of taught Mark every language on Earth. Alien languages to some type of head once Mark has it scan a computer and translate it to his head. So yeah. So after Mark translates the Flaxon language, he's basically able to scan all the other technology and understand that as well. But Mark would more or less just let the aliens hit him since they can't do any damage at all, because the green glow plus his natural durability. They work on their computer to the point where he basically just destroyed all their technology, basically crashed it, all planet-wide. Mark then went around basically just going to similar bases, and basically just shutting down everything. And then Mark would also destroying buildings, but before the buildings would fall, he gets everyone out of the building. Basically saving everyone's life, but sending them back to the Stone Age. Assuming there's no one on life support, but, yeah. So with this, as soon as they're also back to the Stone Age, Mark basically just takes all their valuable technology that he can dismantle, throwing it back into the portal he made, but to his own base. If they came through, they're going to freeze to death. It's really cold. And from Mark's experience, nowhere on their planet is this cold. So yeah, as soon as the portal was closed behind him, he basically just set up all the other technology in his lab. So, yeah. No, Mark heads back to the team and talks about them as well, saying that he sent them back to the Stone Age. So, yeah. Now, Mark just says, I sent back the Stone Age and took all their valuable tech to end the possibility of them coming back in a very fast amount of time. Now, this did discuss Eve a bit because she thought about people on life support. And I just said there aren't because it's my what if. And Eve just asked Mark, why would you do that? Mark did look a bit nervous, but said, from what I learned, all they did is speak of conquering less advanced civilizations, but I openly admit, I'm not willing to share this technology with humans, because I assume they do the same thing. From what I saw on their planet, they're just advanced humans who look uglier. That's all they are. Usually when Eve heard that, is just kind of like, from what they did and what she knows of the planet's military forces, this doesn't sound too far off from if they were this advanced. And Mark says he's blatantly aware there's other alien species and other life forms on Earth, but he doesn't trust anyone with those materials except for himself at this point. And he basically just told Eve that he's going to be working on his own base full of technology that he finds and that he thinks he should use the most. Or he says that Brandyworth's already aware of it. All Eve would have to do is probably look around the lab for blueprints, but there's no location. This did make Eve a bit relieved considering that Mark is a tech genius, and also, well, she knows he wouldn't do any harm to it. She's known him for now 5 years. So, Now, Robot heard what Mark had said to them, considering he wasn't really sitting down listening, but he was just around. And Robot will talk to Mark in private, saying, if I got about to keep this from Cecil and the government, do you think you could help me? I wish for a human body. If you can't make a human body, then I wish for a body that allows me to pass as a human, yet retain robotic function. Mark just looked at Robot with a bit of a suspicious look and said, I'll consider it. And that's where the conversation ended. Now, at school, Mark and Eve are hanging out when Todd, the bully, walks up to Mark and hands him a paper from Amber. It had her number on it, and as soon as the bully tried to speak, saying, Amber Bennett wants, Mark just grabbed the letter and tore it to shreds. And said, tell her to talk to me like a normal person, not bully another bully into having a conversation. By textbook definition, she is a kind of bully for that. Like, I'll give an example. To seek to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone who is perceived as vulnerable, kind of coerce or to intimidate, a bully would likely to coerce or intimidate someone. Even intimidated and coerce Todd, even though he's a big scary bully. And Todd would do so, not wanting to piss off Mark, considering that Mark is able to basically, Mark is 6'3". He's kind of intimidating. Plus, his body's relatively lean muscle. So, yeah, you can tell he's muscular, but he's also very lean. So, yeah. Yeah. Amber was kind of shocked after what Todd told her. And, well, Mark also threw away her number like trash, so, yeah. But Amber went to talk to Mark, only to see him and Eve eating burgers on top of Mark's car, as Mark does have a job. He did have a job. And he bought it on his own. But Amber says, so you thought I was a bully bullying the bully. Mark just nodded, saying, by one of the many definitions of bullying, yes, you're a bully. I used to bully a lot. This made Amber kind of laugh, but decided to talk to Mark for a bit. And she did ask Eve, before she's like, are you dating Mark, by the way? She's like, oh no, I have a boyfriend. And immediately, Amber's like, okay, well, she'd been talking to Mark and asked him out on a date. They reached a date, but not a study one, since Mark doesn't really study. His brain just moves so fast that he doesn't really need to study. All the others kind of just think really hard, and then eventually the answer comes to him based off logic. And his logic is pretty sound. So yeah, even if it's not sound, well, his engineering's pretty sound. The lowest grade he usually gets is about 88, 89. The highest he gets is 100. So yeah, but 88, 89 is the lowest he gets. Otherwise, he passes his classes. So yeah. Now, the day is to the homeless shelter on Amber's request, and Mark doesn't mind helping people. He has a heroic spirit still. The date was going well since her and Mark were both free after school, so it was a pretty long one too. So at this point, it's nearly nighttime. Or sundown, at least. But Mark needed to leave 10 minutes before the date would actually end, because the home shelter would end. And this time, Amber doesn't really mind, considering that Mark says, oh yeah, his mom wants him home for dinner, even though he's already eaten here. Or at least to talk to him about his day, at least. And Amber's okay. Amber's like, okay, well, I understand that. Just, maybe you're on a date at some point. She doesn't blame him. It was kind of the last minute thing. So, Mark said he would, and then he just walks outside and put on the gauntlet as he vanishes. As soon as he vanished, he appears basically just at Cecil's organization. Because it wasn't his mom, it was just Cecil. So yeah. So as soon as Mark and Cecil begin to talk, Cecil would actually just mention something that shocked Mark. And Cecil would just say, hey kid, you think you're ready to fight aliens? Mark has a blank face and says, what do you mean, what kind of aliens? Arnie Man's in the corner of the room, because he's been awake for at least a few weeks now. Mark's aware of this, I shouldn't mention it. He goes, I've fought the alien before, and I think you're ready to fight an alien too. You're pretty strong. Physically, at least you're as strong as me, so you're ready. With this, Mark would decide to go fight this alien. But before you do get into the fight, I'm going to end this what if here. Or not what if, this part here. If you guys do enjoy this what if, then I will not end it here, but whatever. If you guys want this what if to continue, probably like 100 views by like Monday at least. Sunday, maybe. Sunday, I guess. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed. Like to start for more. Adios.